I am the Mid-Grid Masochist. We are back with another installment of r/No Sleep story. We're going to jump right into it. The title, Mother Saw the Devil in Everything, Especially in Me. She did all she could to get him out. And with a chainsaw, perhaps? I don't know. We'll find out. Author is Accomplished Low 7889. My mother saw the devil in everything, especially in me. She tried, with beatings, to drive him out. I would spend hours praying, kneeling in the backyard, my back lined with belt marks. Man, that's a tough intro. My father didn't bother to contain her excess. His life revolved around reading newspapers, working, having dinner, and watching whatever game was on that night. He looked at us like animals, whose only master was Mother. As her only daughter, Mother was particularly worse with me. Every woman is an Eve in potential, was her motto. There was always an apple to be eaten. My solace was at school, where even though I had no friends, I had books. At the library, I read everything from geography to science fiction. The printed words were my real home, not the cramped room I was forced in. So this is, right off the bat, it is starting with some serious home problems, some terrible parenting. It's unfortunate that this girl is probably going to have some issues whenever she gets older. No fault of her own. It's a shame. It happens a lot, unfortunately. Sometimes when I spent too much time there, I would run into a teacher who always stopped me to see me and recommend books. I called him Teacher L because I couldn't pronounce his name. He told me he saw a great future in me. As I grew into puberty, Mother got worse. The moment she found me brushing my hair and lingering too long in front of the mirror, she enforced strict fasting and longer prayer routines, throwing out all my books except for the Holy Bible. I even overheard her talking to my father about taking me out of school. Man, that's intense. Like camping. Funny enough, that's whenever I met Jake in biology. He sat next to me, often cracking stupid jokes just to make me laugh. Our relationship started innocently, but soon we began to spend more time together during lunch break. Jake also came from a difficult family with alcoholic and absent parents, and we bonded a lot. Since home wasn't an easy place to be, I spent most of my time either with Jake or at the library. My interest in books slowly started shifting from science fiction to romance. And there he was, always, Teacher L, handing me many of those. That increasingly sparked my imagination. Somehow, it felt like every story brought Jake to mind. So we see some young love starting to bud here. He began walking with me almost the entire way home, and we would spend hours talking about the movies he had seen, ones that I hadn't, of course. Jake's world, full of smartphone apps, movies, television series, felt foreign to me as my world of prayer and discipline did to him. One afternoon, we walked to the point where we usually parted ways to avoid the risk of my parents seeing us. And as we said goodbye, he kissed me. It was my first kiss, and the sensation was something I'd never felt before. I was in love, at last, and realized my books hadn't been lying about how good it felt. But a day that was meant to be my happiest quickly turned into a nightmare. My older brother had seen us while riding his bike nearby and rushed home to tell Mother. When I got there, her eyes locked onto me with an indescribable mix of hatred and fear. She grabbed me by the arm and dragged me into the basement, my brothers smirking, helping her as she cut my hair with scissors and locked me inside an improvised cage down there. This is absolutely gut-wrenching. There's no reason for a human being to be treated like this. The author is doing a good job of making me feel like shit right now. My child, do not give the devil a foothold, she said while walking up from the basement stairs, or I'll take it from you. Then she shut the door, leaving me in complete darkness. That night, I wept until I physically couldn't cry anymore. The bitter cold and the sound of rats creeping around kept me up until late. The next day, Mother simply left me there as if I didn't exist. No meals, no water, no attention. I was supposed to purify myself through fasting and self-reflection, to get rid of the impure and evil thoughts. But it was on that day that impure and evil thoughts truly took root in my mind. First off, Mama needs to go to prison. right? Second off, she is creating what she is trying to keep from happening. And that's what happens with parenting, like over-parenting. That's what happens whenever you don't want your kids to... Now, this is all my opinion, so don't shoot me. Whenever you don't want your kids to do something, just educate them about it, you know? Like, instead of telling them, don't do that, because I was one of those kids. Tell me not to do it, I'm going to do it, because I want to know. Now, not all kids are the same, so not all parenting is the same. And if you are a parent, you know what I'm saying. No kid can be handled the same. It's just the way it is, and there's no book to how to do it. You kind of just have to use your best instincts. Hunger and cold kept me awake until late, and when I finally dozed off, I was jolted awake by a long, thin hand. It was Teacher L, crouched down, motioning for me to get up and follow him, and I did. The door was somehow unlocked. The rest of the night feels like a fever dream or a hallucination, but I'll recount it as I remember. Teacher L and I took a half-filled gasoline can from the garage and topped it off using a hose to siphon fuel from my father's truck. We poured it inside and around the house, making sure to cover every viable exit. This went from 0 to 1,000 real quick. I turned on the gas valve and walked outside, holding the lighter my father used for his stinky cigars. One of my brothers must have heard something because I saw him opening the door to investigate the noise, though it was already too late. A few seconds later, I flicked the lighter on with one hand, while holding the red right hand of Teacher L in the other. I had never realized it before, but his eyes were as dark as the night, and his delicate skin was the color of blood. So it's sounding like Teacher L, which I'm not sure the angle with not getting some kind of name in there, but all right. I'll deal with it. He must be like a supernatural evil being. I don't know if they're trying to depict him as like the Dark Lord himself. I'm not sure. Sitting in the yard, I watched everything unfold inside the house. The discovery of the smoke, mother's screams, father's struggles, and their final realization there was no escape. The entire place was engulfed in flames in less than 15 minutes. Slowly, the neighbors started noticing the event, and a commotion began in the streets. I heard the sound of fire trucks' sirens emerging from the distance. As I turned to thank Teacher L, I found that he was not there anymore. It was just me. The story was alright. It was very short, without any supernatural things involved. It seems like they abused their child to the point where the child killed them. And in this situation, I don't blame the child. I mean, obviously, you should never do anything like that. This child was so suppressed by every point in her life, forced to be good to the point where she was forced to be bad. It was her only escape. I'm pretty sure that Teacher L was the devil incarnate, possibly. But in this situation, her parents may have killed her at some point. There's really no way of knowing how the future would have turned out, but obviously nobody should be killing anybody. I appreciate you joining me for this story. Real quick, this is real important. If you could please help me out by subscribing and liking the video, I would really appreciate it. I like doing these stories. I'd like to keep doing it and grabbing more. I appreciate you guys listening whenever you can. That's all I got for today. I am the Mid-Grid Masochist. Farewell.